Hi there, it's Brian here, the Land Guy. In today's video, I want to discuss with you the importance of having a vision, the importance of thinking, and the importance of having a process before you proceed with the job, or the motion, or the pushing of the first dirt. You see, I've learned a lot over the last years in business and also in the field of work that I do. And I felt like it was important for me to share with you all about how the land guy thinks. Now, I'm doing a 5-part series, and this is part 2, and it is considered vision before motion. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot happen in land work is starting too fast. Just showing up, jumping in the machine, and going balls to the walls, so to speak, and not really thinking the process through. I've seen a lot of mistakes taken. I've seen a lot of shortcuts that was made because people really didn't think before they started. And I understand the temptation and the importance of making sure you get that project done in a timely manner. But you've got to do your homework. We live in a world today where we want everything quick and we want everything fast, from fast food to no waiting at Walmart in the line anymore. We can do that grocery pickup order where it's faster and it's quicker and it's more convenient. That's the mindset that sometimes contractors or even service providers have in their mind, because they think, well, if I can get in there and get this job done quick, I'll get paid quick and I'll be able to move on to the next project. But they don't necessarily think how that's going to affect them years down the road whenever that particular person calls and said, hey, this thing has failed. But I get it. We all want to see progress. Everybody wants to see that dirt moving. And if you're a pond builder, you know you have a very limited time to get that pond built before that first rain. But land, I have found out, has a way of humbling you when you move too quick before you think. That's why I believe there must be a vision before motion. Before I ever start a job, I want a clear picture in my mind of what this project is going to look like when it's finished. I want to make sure that when I go and do these jobs, that I'm not just flying by the seat of my pants. I spend a lot of time, initial time, thinking about that process when I go do a site visit. So it's very important that we understand, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to end up where you need to be. It's really easy sometimes to make decisions early, but what I've noticed, that the quicker you do the job, the more problems that are created. Good land work doesn't start with horsepower. Now think about that. It actually starts with thinking about how that water is going to move across that land before it enters into the pond. It's also thinking about where that dirt needs to come from and where it needs to go. It's also about thinking what order things need to happen in. Whether you're out there and you're doing some clearing, do you need to take care of this portion first or that portion? There's a lot that goes into that. Because you see, once dirt starts moving, every decision you make affects the next one, because you've already initially started, so it just happens. That's why the thinking part matters so much. If there's no thinking involved, you're going to find that there's going to be some chaos that happens. I've seen jobs where there has been no real process, especially when it comes to building ponds. I have fixed a lot of ponds where the people hired so-called pond builders, but really all they were dirt pushers. And they went up and they pushed dirt into what they called a dam, and they called it a pond. There was no process like removing the topsoil. or the no process of even digging the test holes prior to any excavation to make sure that you had the proper soil conditions to even build a pond at that location. They just go in at that, hey, I'm an equipment operator and I run a bulldozer or I run a track loader, and they think, and the thing is, a lot of landowners don't initially think. They think because that person is an equipment operator that they can do all these jobs effectively and efficiently and there's going to be no problems. But I have found that that is not the case. Just because someone pushes dirt or just because someone digs doesn't mean that they know how to effectively do it the proper way. Now, I get it. Sometimes they get lucky, but most of the time they end up chasing problems they've created themselves. A solid process keeps us from turning those jobs into chaos by making sure that you think and you have that vision. You see, that process, it gives the job a direction. It keeps you from moving that dirt twice. It keeps you from getting that call back because that pond dam is leaking because you put topsoil in that pond dam, or you didn't compact it right, or you didn't build the spillway correctly. You see, all of this matters. When a landowner hires me, personally me, they're not paying for machine time. They're paying for good judgment. They're paying for experience. They're paying for me knowing what the right way to not only operate that equipment, but to tackle their project correctly. They're hiring me because they know that I know what I'm doing. Just because it's all about experience. It's not about the machine time. It's not about I'm an equipment operator. You see, what really matters in understanding is knowing what happens first and then what happens next. And also, when that job is finished, what is it supposed to look like? Before you initially even start, you should have that vision in your mind, and that's how I am. I have that vision in my mind of what that pond is supposed to look like, or what that clearing is supposed to look like. You see, these landowners and these people, they're paying for someone who can potentially see these problems coming before they even show up, and not after the damage is done. They're paying for someone to walk that piece of ground and not just think about today and think about what it's going to be tomorrow. They're paying for someone that builds something that will last years down the road. These particular contractors and such people as myself, we think about what's going to happen when that big rain event comes, or how is it going to handle winter, or how is it going to handle drought. Those are things that are constantly on my mind personally when I go and look at some of these projects. In the end, a landowner isn't hiring me to move dirt fast. They're hiring me to help them get it done right the first time so they can enjoy their land instead of constantly worrying and fighting it. You've got to do it properly. You've got to do it right. You see, I'm kind of slow in the beginning of the job because I walk the ground, I look at the elevation. If there's test holes that need to be dug, I'll dig those initially first when I'm dealing with pond jobs. Study how the water flows on that particular land. Look at satellite imagery. Look at the historical images of maybe what that land used to look like before it was neglected or before these new landowners bought that property. You see, all of this happens. I study all of this before I arrive on site with the machine. You've got to do your homework into this. That time up front that I spend, that extra time, saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of money on the back end. You see, because rework, when you have to get called back to fix your problem, those can be really expensive. Moving dirt twice hurts. Rebuilding that dam again, it costs a lot of time. Fixing something after the fact always costs more than doing it right the first time. Vision, thinking, and having a process in mind prevents all of that. Vision gives the job a direction. It helps us understand what this is supposed to look like when the job is completed. Experience just isn't about how to run equipment. And I get it. I love running equipment. I've said that before on the previous video. I started running equipment when I was just a young boy, and I have fell in love with hydraulics, and I don't know. I mean, I can go on and on about that. But really, experience isn't just knowing how to run a machine. Yes, you need to know how to run one effectively and know what you can do with one and know how you can create things with one. But it's also knowing when not to. It's also being willing to stop and to step back or to get out and think it through of what we need to do to carry the job even further. I've been there before. There's been times I've had to get out of the dozer and just walk the bottom of the pond basin and just lay my eyes at a different way than what I was when I was within the cab. Getting out, walking it, and checking it. Not rushing ahead without a plan, but making sure you do all the necessary steps when you're doing that project. For me, slowing down at the beginning isn't really hesitation. It's actually responsibility. When I leave a job, I want the landowner to feel confident that they hired the right person, that they hired the land guy, and the land guy did that job or that project with all of their heart and all of their being. I want that landowner to be confident that it was a thorough job, a job that was done right, not a job that was done halfway. I want that landowner or that property owner to be confident that they can certainly enjoy their land for years to come without worrying what's going to fail next. I have been on different site visits, and landowners have expressed to me their past experiences with other providers and how those were a nightmare, and how the trouble that they had with them, and how they weren't returning their calls, and how they got ghosted and they wouldn't come back and fix their problem, or they left the job halfway completed. I've heard those countless times. Make sure that whoever you hire has a vision, has a process, and has they're thinking about it, because it's important not to leave that job halfway done. Something else too that I also believe in is that we have been given a brain to use. God has given us wisdom for a reason. So we got to take the time to plan, to think, and have a vision. That's just part of being a good contractor. That's part of being a good provider, a good service provider. And that's also, it's important, because if you want to be a steward and help that landowner steward their property well, you've got to have some wisdom. Rushing ahead without a plan usually leads to regrets. So for me, as I stated earlier, just slowing down, making sure before you push any dirt or you jump in that machine and turn that throttle up, is to know what that project's going to look like when it's done, to think, to plan, to do all the necessary homework before you even start. You know, I just don't believe in starting fast. I believe in starting right. And that is having a vision, having a process, thinking the job through before the dirt ever moves. It's having that right kind of mindset. And to be honest with you, it did not happen overnight. It took time, it took a lot of mess ups and some experience. It came years from learning what works and what doesn't work. And when I look back now, what I do see is that this chose me. It took years to understand the importance of having a vision before the motion. I want to thank you today for watching this video. I hope that this has shed some light on some things about the important steps that you need to take before you start a project. Or maybe you might be a landowner and you're thinking about having a project completed or having a pond built, and you're looking for a good provider. If I was you, I would ask them, what is their process in this job? Take note. Are they willing to do their homework? Are they willing to think this through? Or is it all about just getting the job done as quick as they can so they can get paid quicker? These are things that you need to be aware of and look out for. But what I've shared with you today is just kind of what goes on in this little tiny mind here. But I feel like I wanted to share that with you because I wanted to be a resource to you. So I'll catch you in the next video. We're going to be having part 3 coming out here before too long. So y'all take care. Bye-bye.